You're welcome to the Vinyl Lounge here in Golden Discs on Patrick Street for another Red Talks Records in the company of the Coronas.
Hey guys. Hey. Thanks, Dave. How are you?
Very good. Danny, Graham and Connor, thank you for joining us this evening. And thank you everybody, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Can we hear you? Oh, it's not so bad, not so bad. All safe and socially distanced as in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to see everyone. It's good to be back in Cork. Thanks for coming out and saying hello.
Well, you're virtually an adopted Cork band, I reckon, after all of these years, certainly with how the marquee gigs have gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we love it here,
Yeah, since the very early days, we've always been welcomed here. Like, it's mad, like, you know. And we've been told loads of times before that we're bigger in Cork than we are in Dublin, if you take into account the population, what that is called.
Yeah,
per capita, is it?
Better numbers here.
Well done,
Per
Connor.
capita is the word.
Yeah. Connor's the brains of the operation now in the back there, is it?
Sure, we knew that.
No.
So, no, it is. It's really cool to be back. And especially, as you say, in this weird time when there's nothing going on, you know, we wanted to, you know, do gigs, obviously, but we also wanted to promote the album and do different things. And in stores, can't do radio in studio for the most part. We can't even do that. So we're delighted to come down and chat to you about other music and do a bit of signing and, you know, sell some ice creams.
Absolutely. And sell some records.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, it's
exactly
part of the name of the game anyway.
Yeah.
Normally gigs would be one of the other
The
big
ice cream
parts.
has been more popular than their records. So that's
Although, as you were saying to me on air there a moment ago, Danny, the small print on the ice creams is you only get an ice cream if you bought an album.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's small print or I've just made that up. No, you do. Yeah.
yeah, you do.
Well, look, let's talk about the album True Love Waits, sixth studio album. Is it 12, 13 years of the Coronas at this point?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
Don't
we keep
give
on
away our
saying 10, and then we stopped. That was around
Stop
7 years
counting.
ago, though. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
we've there's been different forms of the Coronas since we were 15 or 16. So it could almost be 20 years.
No.
Which is worrying.
Did you guys all go to school together? Is that the kind of...
Well, yeah, we've played in a band for probably 20 years, but under the Coronas, we have.
Do your maths, Dan. How old are
Do
you?
you, Matt?
No, what happened was when we were in like fourth year or whatever, so we're 16, you say we're starting a band, but like we didn't have one rehearsal for like 8 months or something, like, and
We were in a band.
we used to just have band meetings in school, like, but we never played any music or did any gigs, like, so I only
Played
consider
the music festivals
That
in our
counts.
school at lunchtime.
okay, we did play at lunchtime in school, yeah.
No, but the Coronas have been going properly, I'd say, for 13 years.
But
or
you
so.
you have been buddies since a long time back.
As you can probably tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Have an argument here, yeah.
Look, the whole story is and did you go on a J1 summer together? Is that the whole...
Yeah, we did all those cliches together. Yeah, no, me and Oxy actually known each other since we were babies. Our parents were really good friends, still are. And so we sort of grew up together, even though we were in different primary schools. Myself and Connor went to the same primary school. And then we were all in the same secondary school and started playing in bands. And so it's interesting that because we were talking about, when you asked us about what records we pick for this Vinyl Lounge, we were talking about different albums that sort of reminded us of when we were growing up, and it was funny because some of our choices overlapped. Like, even I said I'd do a Radiohead album because we're really influenced by Radiohead, love that band, and he was like, yeah, you take Radiohead, I'll take this one, as in, like, he could have easily just picked Radiohead as well. So a lot of now there are some different, you know, influences as well, but a lot of the music that we listened to, definitely the gigs we went to back then. Like, I remember going to Oxygen, or Witness as it was called back then, and the three of us were there. We only saw a picture, we put it up on the Instagram. Well, that wasn't actually of Oxygen, but it was around that time. But yeah, and we used to just go to gigs and hang out and go to see bands and stuff, and, you know, we still would if there was any gigs on.
But it was a case of kind of looking and going like, you know, wouldn't it be nice to get a little taste of that? And boy, did you.
100%.
Oh,
Absolutely,
big time,
yeah.
Didn't we actually have a conversation?
That we wanted to play Oxygen by a certain year, or whatever. It happened. We played at 12 o'clock in the morning.
On a Sunday.
The gates weren't open yet.
The first time we played Oxygen, right?
The gates weren't open.
They hadn't actually opened the front gates, and we were on the stage. So we were on the second stage at 12 o'clock.
Stage manager was like, start playing. We're like,
Go.
the gates aren't open.
We're like, what?
Like, we want music for when the gates do open.
So there was about 3 security guards in high-vis vests that were bopping along. That was our only crowd, like, you know. Until about third or fourth song in, and you could just see our mates running across the field going, there's the lads, they weren't lying, they are playing. And but then it was so funny because, that, as Connor said, that was our initial dream really, or one of our main ambitions that we wanted to tick off was to play at Oxygen. And then we got that, and then the goalposts changed, and then you start going, oh, well, you know what, it'd be cool to play a little bit later, it'd be cool to play the main stage, and then that happens, and you're like, it'd be cool if we got like one of those 7 o'clock slots, like, and then, so you keep, the goalposts keep moving, you keep changing, and I think that stood to us, I suppose, having that ambition, and that you're not sort of going, when you get one of those things, you don't just go, we're grand now, like, so it's, God, make me miss festivals now talking about them.
Yeah, I can imagine. But being friends, obviously, you're all very tight, but no doubt you tear the heads off each other. It both must be an advantage to be so close friends, staying in a band for so long, but also potentially not that easy. How has that been?
Well, I think when we're on tour and we're in like close quarters to each other, like I think we get to know each other quite well, and when somebody's having a bad day, somebody's a bit annoyed, a bit tired, you're like, right, I'll just leave him alone for a while. Like we do know each other quite.
Or you poke them more.
Or you really try to get at them. Yeah.
I'm bored as well.
Yeah, exactly.
What fun I can
Let's
have.
play with Danny for a while.
Yeah.
See if I can make him cry.
When you said that there, it must be very tough. I was like, you know what, I'm the diva, I'm just going to shut up and let them answer that. And I knew they'd be like, yeah, it's really tough when Danny's in one of his moods. But no, we're blessed that we are mates, like, and that we have been from before the band started, as we said. So I definitely think it's been more of an advantage than a disadvantage for sure. Because as the lads say, when someone's having a bad day, when there's a bit of stuff, when you need to have it clear the air, if you have a row, it's not going to fester or whatever and become a bigger thing or whatever. So it's it's been great. We love it.
But also keeping the energy, keeping the belief, keeping the desire, because I suppose Dave kind of lost the will a little bit along the way and decided to bow out.
Yeah.
Did that cause questions for you guys too, to kind of think do we still want this? Do we still want to do it?
Initially for me, I had an initial moment of, oh wow, is this the beginning of the end? If one person wants out, maybe that's it. But it was funny because Dave sort of sat us down. He was sort of encouraging us to keep going. He wasn't like, I'm not happy the band should stop or anything. He was like, I'm not enjoying it anymore. I want to do other things. I haven't been happy, I haven't been as committed. He knew how much we love it, how much we give to it. And he had that only maybe 2 years ago. And it just sort of faded for him. And he wasn't enjoying it as much. And he sort of sat me down last summer and said, lads, it wouldn't be fair on you guys or me if I just sort of stayed in the band, but I wasn't really committed. And I just sort of showed up when I had to, sat there and answered a few questions and showed to rehearsals when I had to, but I wasn't really into it. And I think that was actually really nice of him to do, because he could have done that, but he said it wasn't fair on either us or him. So it was cool, and it was a nice way to sort of, I don't know, I think in a way it's nearly, it might be good for my personal relationship with Dave in the long run. I think, it's sort of, as you say, sometimes you're very close with someone, and he would have been the main person I would write with as well. And I've seen a good bit of him since he left. This was so,
no, but
that's what
it
people are
must
saying.
feel a little bit like
and
that.
Some of the songs in the album,
when you're in a band together.
I'm probably getting too honest here, but some of the songs in the album definitely reference him leaving, and it's people are like, yeah, he was in the band for 13 years. That's longer than any of your relationships, Annie. So it's a bigger breakup than any other one I've gone through. So,
well, no one likes change, really. And I mean, we're all living through these weird times, but things will change as a result of it. And hopefully, we will all look back in 5 or 10 years' time and go, you know what? All of those horrible things that happened, actually, I changed this and I did that, and that's better. And so kind of on that side of your story, does it actually then rejuvenate the band in a different way?
Yeah. Absolutely,
and is that what we're going to hear on True Love Waits?
Absolutely. I think after he left, we had to reassess everything, and it just kind of, we decided to open up the band a little bit more than close it down. So we were like, look, we need to get another guitarist in to do his parts and things like this. So we were like, Laura Kay could be really good there, Cormac could be really good there, and we got loads of people in. We got trumpets in, we got lots of female backing vocalists in and duets, and it was just, we opened up the band, which is great. And seeing other people work like that, it inspires you yourself instead of just...
And there is a freshness to the songs. They sound a little bit different. Like Light Me Up, the current single, co-written by Cian McSweeney of True Tides. We'll maybe talk about that in a minute, and some of the other collaborations too. But it does sound like there's a freshness to the songs, which must be refreshing also for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And disappointing that you can't play them live.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was one of those things where, like, as soon as Dave left, we knew that the album was going to be different without him because it wouldn't have his input of what we do. So in a weird way, that sort of took the pressure off because we knew it was going to be different, so we could just sort of enjoy it and go with our instincts, and it's going to naturally evolve without us sort of question ourselves, going, should we change that? Is that similar to something we've done in the past or whatever? So for us, it was actually really enjoyable. As Noxie said, we opened up the band. Instead of just taking the burden of doing it, the three of us, we actually just started asking all our talented friends to get involved, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think also when you're in a 4-piece and you have the bass and drums keeping the bass of the song, and then basically Danny doing his bit, and then the electric guitar a lot of time is okay. Well, there's this bit 3 minutes into the song. We'll just put a guitar lick there as a main guitarist. So now we were like, well, we can't do that anymore. So we had to look at the arrangements and think outside the box a little bit and add different instruments and kind of go, we'll build the song instead of having a massive crescendo at the end.
That's interesting. I totally agree. We never really talked about that before as well. It's sort of like when we started out, the music we were listening to were probably more like bass, drums, lead guitar, and a vocal, like a band. And I think even maybe that was something to do with Dave's feeling of less not involved, but less enjoying it as much, because even the music probably that he was liking and we were listening, the band we were starting to veer towards was maybe veering away from like a straight up rock lead guitar, solo section or whatever. But it was great that we Dave came down.
Still on the album.
He ended up playing on 6 songs or something, 5 or 6 songs, so.
He just doesn't have to do the promo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you're missing out, Dave, because it's fun tonight.
Smart, actually. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's the right word, though, reassess, because I think that is a lot of what's going on in a lot of different ways right now for all of us, and that can ultimately end up being good, and I hear that in the songs that we've heard so far. What was Lost in the Thick of It, the first one that came out?
No, Find the Water came out first, but Lost in the Thick of It was probably, it was a song I wrote initially last summer with Gabrielle Applin and Alfie Hudson-Taylor over in Brighton, and brought it back to the lads, and we all worked on it, and it was one of them that just came together really easily, and it was just sort of a simple, quirky vibe that we all liked. I think from the word go, everyone was like,
did that set the tone a little bit of?
Yeah, I think so.
I
think so. I think that definitely started probably almost the second wave, because we recorded Find the Water and Never Ending, and maybe one or two, had a few other songs written that made the album before Dave told us that he wants to leave at the end of the year. But after he told us he wanted to leave, probably in around summer last year, even though he was finishing out the gigs for the year, we knew that he wasn't going to be involved in the new album as much. So from then on, I actually just started writing loads, and there was big bursts of songs that came, and I think we needed to do a bit of writing anyway. It probably would have came anyway, but definitely I just started working with lots of different people. I was just like, I think it was nearly, I don't know. It's funny because Dave was probably my main songwriting partner for a long time. Whereas if I had an idea, I'd bring it to him, and it's like, again, it's back to that like breakup analogy. So I just started. Instead of just writing with him the whole time, I just started writing with everyone when we broke up.
So you got a little promiscuous,
yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Danny?
I was living the single life. I'm a single songwriter.
Well, I don't need Dave anymore. Who's out there?
Yeah, I was going out and having
I joined a black book.
Yeah, exactly. I joined songwriting Tinder for a while, and I just or Bumble, even better. And
so that's
sort of how it started. And there was a whole batch of songs. Sorry, that came out of that little.
So wait, Bumble. If you match, she has to message you first. So
except I'm writing with Alfie and Keane, and but it was cool, like, because. And again, it's not that I didn't do that when Dave was in the band, because we did do some co-writes on Trust the Wire as well, and it's not like Dave was against that in any way, but that was just naturally the way it ended up happening.
Look, as Noxie said, it just opened it up, and it opened up the kind of the mindset around how to go about it and everything else. And I think it sounds great, so delighted that we're doing this event this evening. I'm going to dip to my left here, and I'm just going to select one album. We've gone straight in for Mick Christopher. So would you have noticed? So you guys tell the story.
Yeah, well, Mick, I was always a huge fan of Mick Christopher. Anyone who's seen a Corona show will know that we tend to, or we have done anyway, tend to end the show with a great song called Heyday. And that is a Mick Christopher song from a Guinness ad. And we loved the song always.
You didn't know, because like what I know about him is that like he was buddies with the Glenn Hansards and all.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
in
no,
Dublin.
we never met. We didn't know him. We never met him.
That was
Well,
mid-90s kind of time sort of thing, wasn't
No,
it?
I didn't know him, and I never got to see him live.
He used to busk a lot.
Yeah, apparently
seemingly.
so. And I never got to see him live. And I've met his sister in recent years because Mick died, unfortunately, before this album came out. So, and Glenn sort of put it together from a lot of different songs he had and stuff. So he never got to see, you know, how good he was really in a way, you know. But Heyday was doing well for him, but the album wasn't put together, and Glenn got a load of people to do backing vocals and stuff. But I didn't even know any of this when I first got into the album. I just heard Heyday, thought it was a great song, and bought the album. And when we were in college, I was saying to lads earlier on, we used to play poker every Friday night in my house for $5 or whatever, and we would always put that on. That would be the background music. And so it's got some great songs on it. It's real sort of lo-fi, and you can hear him making it in his room. Like, you know, it's not all bells and whistles and fancy stuff, but it's really, really good. It's a great album.
And even if you look at the list of people who have played on the album, and I know, as you said, Glenn Hansard helped to put it together posthumously, I think is the phrase. Sadly, he died in Amsterdam. He fell down the stairs or something like that. But loads of Dublin bands just always reference him as having been a huge influence on them and just a huge figure on the scene and just someone who they really liked. But so you've Carl Odlum and Dave Odlum on bass and guitars, Glenn Hansard's on guitar and vocals, Gemma Hayes, Lisa Hannigan, Colin McNamara, Simon Good, Ronan O'Snodig of Keela is on there. So quite a crew of people playing on it. Yeah. 2000 to 2001 is when the album came out. I'm sure everybody here will know the song because it is a big radio favourite. That's what it's called now these days, seemingly a vinyl player. I would know it as a record player, but then that was, you know... Well, actually, I don't. They weren't a thing when I was young either. Honestly, it was cassette.
They're back now as well. Cassettes apparently are cool again.
Because you can see why vinyl has come back in. Like, albeit it's a little more expensive than a CD. Although when CDs came out, they were vastly more expensive. They were totally ripped off everybody on the CD thing. But you could see why people are buying vinyl. Like, it's substantial, and you get the whole lifting out. I don't know. You get to mess with it.
Well, even with our album, we've had more pre-orders on vinyl than we've ever had, like on any album by a mile. Like, you know, so it's definitely coming back in some shape or form.
Cool. Hence why we're here in the Vinyl Lounge of Golden Discs.
Exactly.
And thank you to them again. Will we go with the Beatles? Whose selection was the Beatles?
That was mine.
A classic album. There's any number of Beatles albums you could have picked, presumably.
Yes. Well, I'll be honest, that's actually, that got bumped up because on the radio I had mentioned the Trills was going to be my pick, but we couldn't find the Trills album. So the Beatles' Abbey Road was picked instead, I think it's the go-to Beatles album. I think it's the most famous, I'd imagine, mainly probably because of the cover. But I think back in the day when we started as a band, I remember playing tunes from Abbey Road in my living room. I think when we started playing, I think we were trying to do the medley at the end, and I could never quite get it. I think Noxie always brings that up.
Still can't do it, can you?
Can do it, yeah.
There's Ringo has a big solo at the end of Golden Slumbers or whatever the part side 2 is called. It's called The End, is it?
And there's quite an amount of songs too, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of them all
they're only made
together.
like 2 minutes or a minute 40.
The whole second half is all just.
I think it's from
one big song.
No, it's from She Came In Through the Window.
Is what you want to go with, is it?
No, I'm going to go with Something. I'm going to go with Something, yeah.
Yeah, great choice. Produced by George Martin, of course. Doesn't say the year on it, but a great album. Will we take another one from it?
Sure.
And so just, where did you hear this first?
I don't know when I probably heard it first. Just when you start discovering the Beatles, it was one of those go-to albums to go to when you discover the Beatles, you know. Yeah. And actually, but Something is actually a song we get asked to play at a few weddings these days. We play a lot of our friends' weddings, and it's a song that I think we prefer to play. Actually, it's a lovely song.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite love songs of all time. That one, something such a lovely, simple lyric, like, you know. So we sometimes when someone asks us to play at a wedding, we try and hack our way through it with a few points on board.
I know that one of you has certainly had a wedding that you guys were singing at. Was it you, Noxie? Did you get married?
Oh, Noxie actually had the Beatles.
I had the classic Beatles as my wedding band.
Really? Class.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to do it. He was like, "Danny, you're going to have to get near that."
Here, how do we stop Danny doing
Yeah,
something?
Danny still sang the first dance though.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they let me sing. And it was a Beatles song.
Which was here, there, and everywhere.
Here, there, and everywhere. Yeah.
Different Beatles song.
Okay, well, let's go with Pet Sounds, which, you know, if you're into your music, you hear all of these albums. Like, for me, anyway, this is one of those albums you just hear about all the time. So, you know, years ago, I was like, okay, let's listen to this Pet Sounds and see what it's all about. And then you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Now I can see why people go on about it so much. Like, they're always described... Well, I suppose they kind of were a bit of a surf band, although there was only one of them in the band that did any surfing. And Brian Wilson then was just like the sort of the production genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whose selection,
Well, we were
whose selection
quizzing-
is this?
That was mine.
We
yeah.
were quizzing Noxie on this earlier on, and we were like, "What stats have you got about Pet Sounds now?" And you're asked.
Well,
about it. So he
was studying on the way down.
45 minutes of Google later, he's like, "I've got one for you."
No, what do you want to know?
Oh yeah. What were you saying? Brian Wilson, the singer, recorded the whole album while the rest of the band were away on tour.
Yeah, the rest of the band were away on tour doing their surf
They were
songs.
touring as the Beach Boys, and he just went and did the album by himself.
But he wasn't touring with them, so he recorded the album and got the Wrecking Crew, which are famous session musicians in LA at the time, to record the album with him. So, and they came back and were like, "Well, we can't play this album."
Yeah, because it's
Because as you say, they were all surfy before that,
It's
and
out
real
there.
I mean,
poppy.
look at it. Like, even how do you end up with? Are they llamas?
Yeah,
How do you end up with llamas on the cover?
yeah.
I suppose Pet Sounds. Why is it called Pet Sounds?
I think there's sheep actually on the album, is there? Isn't
I think someone described it as, is that how the name came? Is like slagging them or something, going, that's not even real music, it's all over the place. Because all the high harmonies and stuff, it's like, it's so high, only pets can hear that, or something like that.
Oh, is that my download?
Well, the record company thought it was going to be a flop as well, so at the same time they released the best of the Beach Boys to make their money back.
Again, the year's not on this because I suppose it's the re-release of the vinyl 2016. But again, I think it is obviously late 60s, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, the Beatles heard this and kind of thought, oh no, back to the drawing board, and then came out with Sgt. Pepper's, which was not a bad response.
Yeah, exactly.
Where will we go? Graham?
Yeah,
over to
track
you?
one again. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice?
The layering of it, there's an intensity to the production to it as well. Like, I don't know, I can see how the
sounds
band
great.
came back and we're like, what is that?
Yeah, and as you say, like, it's still, today, people still rip off the way they did the vocals, as you say, layering up the vocals and harmonies and stuff like that. That's just like standard now. And like
At the
that
time, it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't really done before that.
What was the recent Tarantino movie called? Because that was that era,
Once Upon a
wasn't it?
Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, that was that whole kind of time, and Dennis Wilson actually knew whatchamacallhim.
Charles Manson.
That's the one. Look, the whole album is a great album. One of my favourites on it, and it's not for mine to select because we can just move on if you like. But I just wasn't made for these times. But the whole album's great.
I think it's funny as well because it starts off with "Wouldn't It Be Nice" and it's all nice love song and positive. Halfway through it, you get to "God Only Knows" and it's "I May Not Always Love You." And then at the end, Caroline, no, I was watching a documentary one time, and it was talking to his wife at the time. She was like, I was listening to the album and it was great, and then "God Only Knows" comes on. It's "I May Not Always Love You," and I'm like, okay. And then at the end, Caroline, no, her name wasn't Caroline, but she was like, and then I got my hair cut, and then Caroline now starts off. Where did your long hair go? Where is the girl that I used to know? You said you'd never change, but you did.
Oh, wow.
They got divorced like soon afterwards. Yeah, brutally honest.
I love it.
Through Lockdown, actually, an album that I went for is not this one. It was the one that followed it.
Yeah.
The more commercially successful one, I think.
Okay,
Although Kid
Computer.
A was their first #1 album, seemingly. But why this?
Yeah, that was one that I picked, and I actually was listening to OK Computer in lockdown as well, funnily enough, but this was the first Radiohead album that I got into, and I think up until then I'd just been listening to more sort of, even though that's probably one of their popular albums as well,
big
but
time.
I was listening to a lot of Oasis and Travis and Stereophonics, and I loved all those sort of pop guitar bands, or sort of indie chart sort of guitar bands. And I think Radiohead were the first one that sort of, I suppose the first cooler band that I started really getting into, and I started, they were a bit more out there. But as I say, The Bends is probably their most accessible album. You know, Today is mental, like it's crazy sounds and stuff. It's still great. And OK Computer is amazing. Obviously, that's one of the big ones. But I loved this album. I used to literally listen to it on repeat. And like, it's even like the melodies, it was just everything about it. Like all of a sudden I went from...
Is there one we'll stick on from it?
Yeah, throw on High and Dry. High and Dry is beautiful, number 3.
I played this evening. I do a kind of a song, you have to guess what the song is and you win something and we play the thing and blah, blah, blah. So this was the song I went for this evening, and then I dug out a few song facts about it. I don't know if you know, but he hated it.
Did he?
Or maybe he just didn't like it because it was too straightforward.
Yeah.
So seemingly he was in a band called Headless Chickens in university in Exeter, which is, I think they were all in college together, and that was a song that he started writing about a girl he'd broken up with or something, and then it kind of metamorphosized into like success and failure, but he had it as a demo, and then the kind of record company encouraged, because they knew it had a commercial feel to it, and he described it years later as like a very bad song, and you're like, oh, don't ruin it.
Way.
Don't ruin it. It's a lovely song.
But I think sometimes that can happen when you write, like there's songs of ours that I think are great that doesn't even make Corona's albums, and everyone's like, that's the worst thing ever. And then there's other songs that you're not mad into but end up doing well. So I think sometimes you lose a bit of sort of objectivity when you're so close to it.
I just wonder though if he just didn't like it because it was too straightforward and and maybe just too commercial or something. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? And I wish I didn't know that now, by the way.
But even the sounds and stuff there and the guitar, like it's real sort of U2 influences, like, you know. The other thing is we used to play this as well. Like,
Yeah, it was one of the first songs we learned guitar, I'd say.
and
Bill Shanley taught us.
Yeah, so Bill is my mom's guitar player from Clonakilty out the bar. Or they have a venue out there in Clon, Shanley's, yeah. But anyway, Bill taught me how to play the song, and it was before I sort of knew the band or the song. He was like, this song would be great. You know, he used to whenever he was rehearsing with my mom, he'd just come in and teach me and my brother a couple of songs. That's how initially we got into it then, and then we started playing it. And it was one of the first songs we probably ever played together, I'd say.
Yeah, we went busking, I remember. Yeah. I think we were playing this, and Andy Townsend gave us £20.
Yeah. Playing this on Grafton Street, and Andy Townsend.
I had totally forgotten about that story.
Former Irish soccer captain, for those of you too young to know.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Where used to bus? Grafton Street, I presume.
Grafton Street, yeah.
Grafton Street, yeah.
Where are you guys from? Terranure, which is like out Rathgar kind of way, is it?
Yeah.
Or what's in and around where you guys are?
Yeah, Harold's Cross, Rathgar, that direction, and then Knoxie's up a bit further in Rathfarnham. But so that was good times. We used to just busk on a Saturday to try and get enough money for a few cans to go to the disco, like, and we'd keep going until we had enough, and then when we had enough, we would stop and count the money on the bus on the way home and all that stuff. Yeah. It was so much fun though.
Yeah.
It was great. But never forget playing.
There is still bus. I mean, not forget about now, but like generally, kids are still going out busking and.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. Bigger than ever, I think.
Yeah, Dermot Kennedy just posted a video yesterday of him 10 years ago, I think, on Grafton Street. Yeah. And now he's playing the National History Museum.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay, that was brilliant. Anything else from it? We should almost have had True Love Waits here, maybe, to play a song. Or would that be too
Why
weird?
not?
Would that be too weird to sit there?
Well, funnily enough, we brought a bus full of albums if you were looking for one.
We've got a few of them, Dave.
Oh, hello.
Oh, is that it?
Here's one he prepared.
Well, let's go with because you could have picked any one of the numbers almost. Why one?
Yeah, I picked number 1 because I think that's the one I remembered the most. When I started to learn the drums, it was kind of pushed towards rock, really. You know, it was just learning kind of rock tunes, rock drumming and stuff. And my teacher, I think he was put me towards the direction of Led Zeppelin. And I remember this album, just going through it, playing it myself in my living room on the drums, and just kind of just banging along to it. Now, I wasn't playing it exactly the way John Bonham plays it, because he's one of the best drummers in the world. But I was just kind of banging along to it. And I love all their albums. I think they're great. Now, they can go off for a while. They can be a few tunes that can be they can wail for a while. But I think most of them are great. So I think with this one, I think I'll go the first one on side 1, Good Times, Bad Times.
So Led Zeppelin, ladies and gentlemen, for a bit of proper rock and roll.
Just picture a 12-year-old Connor playing along to this in his living room.
But that is what's kind of
My
even
hair was
when
just
you
as
talk about
long.
the busking stories and all that, because that, like, you know, everybody, everybody starts somewhere in his dreams, and like in your case as a band making music, like your dreams have come true. So it's nice to hear those stories. And what is that? They're through the 70s, Zeppelin, are they?
Yeah, I think that was 69, was it?
Oh, yeah, 68, yeah. Wow, it's very different to kind of the hippie flower power there, or even the Beatles or the Beach Boys or any of the rest of it. That's, it's far more straight up.
They're kind of a proper rock or stadium rock band back in the day, I suppose.
Look at the state of them. Brilliant. John Bonham, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, and John Paul Jones. Yeah. I don't know how many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there Led Zeppelin 5? I don't know how many it goes up to.
I think it goes to 5, and then does it go to?
That's it. 4.
House of the Holy, and then Physical Graffiti. Is it?
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not in this gig. I'm not in this gig, Ian. This is your
loads
gig.
of them anyway. Yeah.
Okay, Brill. We can do another one, or we can move on to Vampire Weekend, which is the last selection.
Yeah.
And by the way, we will do a little Q&A if anybody would like to speak to the lads or say anything. Any stories? We've had a dream come true over here. Remind me of your name? Carol, who Carol and Sarah. So we did a head-to-head. Who's Corona's crazy? Corona's song intro. Say your name if you know what it is.
Nice.
Sarah beat Carol in the head-to-head on air.
Wow.
Right, but the two of them were basically in the same place in the field. Say you're in Youghal. I'll say I'm in Middleton.
Nice,
yeah. So, but Carol won her way through Golden Discs by saying, "What's your favourite Corona's memory?" Was it? Yeah. And it was down in the marquee. But like I've seen them every year, and this will be the one year that I won't. So that's one, and there was many other stories. Oh, well, where else? We have the signing. Richie O'Mahony,
we were chatting to Richie earlier.
Dubliner living in Union Hall.
That's it.
Whose parents are deaf, and your 4-year-old daughter encouraged you to sign to Lost in the Thick of It. You guys spotted it and posted it up and shared it.
Yeah, got a better reaction than our own music video. Fair play to you. Taking the spotlight. No, it was great, man. It was really, really good.
Is this the Vampire Weekend album that has the do 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 do?
No,
that's no, because this is the one album of all the selections I don't know. And
this is the most recent Vampire Weekend.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool. Jesus.
Yeah, it's a take one. There's 4, there's 2 vinyls in it.
Sony Music. So, okay, very good. You see there
extra stuff.
The beauty of what you get with it. So so we've side C. So you tell me.
It's a big one.
Which one you want?
G?
I have C and D out here at the moment.
We just go with This Life. That was the single.
Yeah.
So
Get
side
the buzz
A.
going.
Side A.
track
Okay.
4.
Track 4, yeah.
Give us that back again, and maybe. So what? Just an album of late that you loved?
Yeah, I think it only came out last year, but I think I chose it because all the older albums were pretty old. So no, and also I think they were in a similar situation to us. Their keyboard player and producer left early before this album started being made, and they just kept on going on as a 3-piece. But Rostam, who had left, still kept, and they still collaborate frequently. So I think it kind of just rang bells with us, and just to see them continue on after a little bit of a breakup was good to see.
So will we do a little bit of True Love Waits? And is there anything anybody?
Why not?
Any questions, or would you like to speak to the band? And thank you all for coming again. By the way, thank you for listening to Red FM. Going to the gigs, buying the records, and listening to the radio station will make all of us sitting up here happy.
Exactly.
That's kind of how that works, right? So what do you want to do off this?
Put on True Love Waits.
Yeah,
for a change.
First song, yeah.
First song. It's something that people haven't really heard either.
So who goes in for the design, or who does all of that, or?
Noxie pretty much puts it all together. He's a genius. Well,
Ooh, look at the orange
he
vinyl.
got some help, but he's the creative director.
Okay.
That sounds harmonies.
Yes.
That sounds
Yeah, there you go. There we go. It's tying it all in. I like it. It's got the feel of a kind of a end of set before the encore song, where you drop all the things and go off. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you tonight. Oh, I'd say you must miss it.
Oh, so much,
time, yeah.
so much. Like even just seeing people today that we haven't seen in ages, like who come to all the Corona shows, just reminds you. And we miss going to the gigs as well. Like even last year, I was thinking when Noxie played Vampire Weekend, we walked down to see Vampire Weekend in Trinity College there. Wasn't it Trinity? You know, the Ivy Gardens or whatever.
Trinity.
And we went in there and it was just a great night. Like, you know, that's the stuff we miss as opposed to, you know, anything else really. Like,
We did the Jingle Bell Ball with you guys back in 2013 in the Opera House, and again, thank you for doing that for us too. But like, what's amazing in the midst of a Coronas gig is just the sort of communal experience of the songs being sung back. The Opera House is such a wonderful venue, like just shy of 1,000 people, and it's just a lovely number. And I mean, it's amazing.
yeah, that's an unbelievable feeling. Yeah, and that's one thing that we hope comes back because, you know, if gigs come back with like restrictions, you know, it won't be the same in that way. Like, you know, because you need to get that atmosphere and experience, you need to have people wedged in there. So hopefully, you know, it'll all sort itself out and we can get back to that next year. But yeah, let's end on a positive.
Yeah, it will. It absolutely will. Well, look, the whole evening has been positive, and thanks very much.
Absolutely. No, it's been really enjoyable.
But look at, lads, thank you so much for being here in the Vinyl Lounge of Golden Discs on Patrick Street here in Cork on the Thursday this August, Bank Holiday weekend. You're all beautiful people. Thank you for listening to Red FM.
Thanks all the staff for having us.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much.
Dave.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Coronas,
Thanks everyone
Danny,
for coming.
Graham
Cheers.
and Connor.
Thanks,
Good man, Ian. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.